Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to take a journey, kind of like going under the hood, to understand this incredible machine that runs your entire life. We're going to explore its basic code, those hidden conflicts, and its amazing autopilot systems. And most importantly, how you can actually start rewriting the software yourself. So let's kick things off with a real mind-bending question, one that's the foundation for everything else we're about to cover. What's the real difference between vividly imagining an event and actually experiencing it? I mean, as far as your brain is concerned, is there any difference at all? And here's the kicker, there isn't one. Your brain can't tell the difference. This right here is the single most important rule you need to know about your own mind. When you vividly imagine something, your brain fires up the exact same neurons and carves out the same neural pathways as if you were living it for real. Keep this rule in your back pocket because it is the key to everything. Okay, so if we want to upgrade our mental software, we first got to get a handle on the hardware, right? Let's start with the basic code, the fundamental building blocks that make everything possible inside that 3-pound universe sitting between your ears. Get this. That's the mind-blowing speed at which your neurons can transmit messages. To put that into perspective, that's over 268 miles per hour. Your brain is firing signals through your body faster than a Formula One race car at full throttle. We are literally talking about the speed of thought. And here's something that always blows my mind. Your neurons, they don't actually touch each other. They communicate across this teeny tiny little space called a synapse. It's like one neuron tosses a burst of chemicals across the gap, and the next one catches it, passing the signal along. Every single thought, every feeling, every action, it's all happening because of these little chemical leaps. And those chemical messengers, they aren't just passing notes back and forth. They're actually shaping the conversation. Think of them like a volume control for your brain. You've got your excitatory signals that turn the volume up, making a signal stronger. And then you've got your inhibitory ones that turn the volume down, quieting a signal, sometimes even canceling it out. This constant dance is what creates the incredible complexity of you.
All right, so we've got the hardware down. Now let's look at two major operating systems that are, well, almost always fighting for control. It's this timeless struggle that was perfectly captured in an ancient metaphor that, as you'll see, is a dead-on description of a modern neurological reality.
You know, it's amazing. Over 2,000 years ago, the philosopher Plato totally nailed this internal struggle. He imagined you, your conscious self, as a charioteer trying to wrangle these two super powerful horses. One horse is just pure, raw emotion. The other is cool, calculating reason. And as we all know too well, they don't always want to go in the same direction. And what's so cool is that modern neuroscience shows this wasn't just some poetic idea. Our intellectual brain, the prefrontal cortex, kind of has this same setup. The right side is your lookout. It's specialized in spotting threats, dealing with negative stuff, avoidance. The left side, though, that's your go-getter. It's all about approach, moving towards goals, opportunities, and positive things. So that leads to a pretty big question, right? How do we, as the charioteer, get that more resourceful, goal-getting part of our brain, that left prefrontal cortex, to grab the reins more often? How can we consciously steer ourselves into a more positive and productive state? Well, the answer is almost ridiculously simple. Just by asking yourself, what's been good lately? That's it. That one question forces your brain to start scanning for the positives. This simple act engages the left side of your prefrontal cortex, and it can shift your entire mental state from avoidance to approach. It's kind of like a manual override for your mindset. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about the brain's autopilot system. Because honestly, some of the most incredible stuff your brain does happens when you're not even paying attention, thanks to these powerful programs that are always running in the background. So, back in 2001, scientists found something kind of weird. They noticed that even when people were just chilling out, doing nothing, their brains were going wild with activity. This led them to discover what's called the default mode network, or DMN. It's the system your brain defaults to when you're not focused on something, and its job is to simulate the future and think about the past. Honestly, the best way to think about the DMN is like the holodeck from Star Trek. Seriously, it's this built-in virtual reality simulator where your brain can play out all kinds of complex future scenarios, make sense of social stuff, and test drive different options before you ever have to do anything in the real world. It's your own internal strategy team.
Okay, so if the DMN is your simulator, then you've got this other thing called the reticular activating system, or RAS, and it's basically the bouncer at the door of your consciousness. Your senses are just getting hammered with billions of bits of data every single second. The RAS is the filter that says, nope, not important, nope, ooh, that's important, and lets it through. It's why you can be in a super loud room and still hear someone whisper your name.
Have you ever had this happen? You buy a new car and suddenly you see that exact same car everywhere, right? It's not like more of them magically appeared. They were always there. You just told your RAS, hey, this piece of info is important to me now. You literally reset its filter. And the best part is, you can do this on purpose. You can program your RAS to spot opportunities, to look for the good stuff, just by deciding that's what you want to find. Which brings us to, honestly, the most important part of all of this. Your brain isn't fixed. It's not this static piece of hardware you're stuck with. If you know how, you can become the architect of your own mind. So let's get into how you can consciously upgrade your own mental software. This is such a huge shift in how we think about our brains. For so long, we pictured the adult brain as being, like fragile porcelain, set in its ways. But the science is crystal clear. It's way more like Play-Doh. It's literally designed to be shaped and molded and re-sculpted your entire life. And the fancy scientific name for this is neuroplasticity. It's just the brain's amazing lifelong ability to change its own structure and function based on what you think, what you do, and what you experience. It is the very mechanism of learning and growth. And it all boils down to this one famous saying: neurons that fire together wire together. Every time you have a thought, a specific pathway of neurons lights up. The more you have that thought, the stronger that connection gets. It's exactly like sledding down a snowy hill. The first time is tough, but every single trip down that same path makes the groove deeper and deeper until it's the easiest path to take. And look, this is not just some abstract theory. A 2007 study put this to the test in a pretty incredible way. They took patients about to have a lumpectomy, and for just 15 minutes, they had them do a guided imagery session, just vividly imagining a smooth, easy, successful procedure. The results? Absolutely staggering. They reported over 50% less pain, almost 75% less nausea. They even spent less time in surgery, which saved the hospital nearly $800 a patient. It's the perfect proof of that very first rule we learned. Your brain can't tell the difference. And research also gives us this awesome practical brain hack for clearing your mind. You know how unfinished tasks just hang over your head, creating all this mental clutter? Well, here's the cool part. You don't actually have to finish the task to make the noise go away. Just the simple act of making a concrete plan, deciding when and how you're going to do it, is enough. It signals to your brain, hey, I got this. And it can finally relax and free up all that brain power for other stuff. Okay, so if we boil everything we've talked about down to one critical idea, it's this. Most of us think our brain just reacts to the world. But that's not what's happening. Your brain is a prediction machine. It is constantly, proactively trying to predict the very next moment. It's building your response based on what it expects to happen, not just what is happening.
And that, right there, leads us to the final and most powerful question of all. If your brain acts on its predictions, and if you can influence those predictions through your focus and your imagination, then you have way more control than you think. The question isn't just what your brain does anymore. It's what will you teach it to do next?